asked everyone to
and then it's signed by Sharon,
privacy at
Jack,
this time.
Kelly, Amy,
and then it's signed and Louis. His wife Sharon, of course, who is
Ozzy Osbourne.
forged that reality TV career with him as well, and of course was very involved, I should say too, with his music career as well, in her own right, you know, as that kind of management side of things, and also his children, two of whom rose to fame in the noughties with that groundbreaking reality TV show, The Osbournes, as well. But for many people, it won't be for that he was necessarily remembered. It will be that theatrical stage presence. I mean, the one that I always remember is biting off the head of a bat on stage. I mean, that is something that you don't see every day, but I think it is that kind of going further than other people, doing more, taking more risks, being more, I guess, the embodiment of the heavy metal genre that he shaped in so many ways. He styled himself, of course, as the Prince of Darkness, and really grew into this persona as this kind of controversial but groundbreaking figure in the music scene. Just want to bring in Emma Birchley, if I may, at this point. Emma, this very sad news that Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. What do we know?
Well, there's been a statement from his family, as you read a short time ago. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time, and it's signed Sharon, Jack, Kelly, Amy and Louis. You have to remember that it was only, in fact, 2.5 weeks ago that he appeared at Villa Park in a show, a vast show that was called Back to the Beginning, billed as the final bow. It had been organised by his wife, the idea of his wife, Sharon Osbourne, and it saw him appearing on stage, rising up from a black throne with bejewelled skulls. In tears, he told the crowd, "You've no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart," because in 2023, because of his health, he had to cancel shows, which he was incredibly unhappy about doing. And so this concert just a couple of weeks ago, with stars from the world of hard rock who cited him as an enormous influence in their own career. There was the likes of Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Youngblood, and the concert also included tributes from other celebrity friends and fans, the likes of Billy Idol, Ricky Gervais, Dolly Parton and Sir Elton John. They were played on screen. But this is a man who admitted that for decades he was addicted to drink and drugs, and a man who'd had several years of health problems, and in recent years, Parkinson's disease. And actually the profits from that show were being shared between Cure Parkinson's, Birmingham Children's Hospital and Acorns Children's Hospice. He made his name, of course, back in 1968 with Black Sabbath, and went on to become one of the most successful bands, metal bands of all time. They sold more than 75 million albums worldwide over the years, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. He eventually was sacked, but then came back as a solo artist, and he was awarded a Lifetime Ivor Novello Songwriting Award in 2015. This is a man who's had an enormous influence on so many people. And of course, even if you weren't into the music, you may well have known him because he and his family appeared in a reality show, which showed that real clash between the life in LA and that very British family in some ways, and that had huge numbers of viewers and really made the whole family famous. His wife, of course, going on to be one of the judges on different music talent shows, and becoming as famous really herself in more recent years. But Ozzy Osbourne, at the age of 76, very sadly dying after being ill for a long time.
Emma, thank you very much indeed. Emma Birchley there, just giving some more detail on the life of someone who really defined so much. I feel like he was such a pioneer in terms of music with the way that he exemplified kind of heavy metal. He was so rock and roll in some ways, you know, the kind of Prince of Darkness, attracting a legion of heavy rock fans and selling all of those albums, as Emma was saying there, really defining the whole heavy metal genre. And then in some ways defining the reality TV genre as well to a whole new generation of fans, probably quite different, I should say, as well, from, you know, the music fans who adored Ozzy Osbourne for his work in Black Sabbath and then as a solo star as well. And then this new generation who became hooked on the very, very successful reality show, The Osbournes, with him and his wife Sharon, and then their 2 children as well, really pushing the boundaries on what reality TV could be. He was a man who I think always gave it his all and had that kind of vulnerability, perhaps, alongside this pioneering ability to kind of go to the extreme, to do more than other people, to push the boundaries more than other people as well. But the heavy metal star Ozzy Osbourne dying just weeks after reuniting with his Black Sabbath bandmates and performing that huge farewell concert for fans at Villa Park, so close, of course, to his own city, where he is from originally there in Birmingham. He said at the time, when he was telling the crowd, "You've no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart," as he performed from a throne, very fittingly, I think, on stage at Villa Park. It was a gig put together with performances from some of his favourite acts as well, Metallica and Guns N' Roses too. And it was seen as a farewell to fans. Tragic in some ways, of course, that...
So yeah, this is breaking news. He passed away. They said he was passed away with his surrounded by his family, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2003, but it was publicly revealed in 2020. And he had Parkin2, a genetic form of Parkinson's, which causes tremors, stiffness, and movement issues. Ozzy said it's a death sentence, but it's not a death sentence, but it affects your nerves, is what he said. But he also had a spinal injury. In 2019, he had a bad fall in his house that aggravated old neck and back injuries from a crash in 2003, ATV crash. So he had multiple spinal surgeries, difficulty walking and standing, chronic nerve pain, and mobility issues. He once said, "I'm literally held together by metal pins." He's had staph infections in his hand that required emergency surgery. In 2022, Ozzy was treated for blood clots in his legs and arms, requiring extensive rehab. And, well, caught COVID, like most of us. In 2022, he got it in 2022, which worsened his respiratory problems and fatigue. And his wife Sharon said his immune system was compromised, making even minor illnesses risky. And then he's had a long history of drug and alcohol abuse. Publicly struggled with depression and anxiety and prescription dependency. His farewell show in July 2025 was emotional. I think he was supposed to have another show. Or was that it? That was it?
Dark rock that followed from heavy metal through to hair rock through to 80s rock wouldn't have happened without Ozzy.
That's amazing. I didn't know that about the name heavy metal coming from that incident. That's that review. What a wonderful bit of anecdote there. And I guess, do you feel that shows their slightly rebellious side, that they're almost kind of happy to butt up against the establishment and to kind of take on the detractors?
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of rock and roll, and it always has been. But it shows that ability. It shows their humour about themselves too. They always had humour about themselves, especially Ozzy. It shows his ability to make lemonade out of lemons, and to run with something. But they knew what they had, and they knew that they should just push through with what they were doing, and it would catch on. And the weird thing about heavy metal is it still isn't.
The Ozzy thing with the bat, that was kind of interesting. Happened in Iowa. So during a live concert, a fan threw a real bat on stage. But apparently Ozzy thought it was fake, a rubber toy. He picked it up and bit its head off. Oh my God. Oh, it's a classic. He was already known for crazy stage antics like biting the head off a dove in a record label meeting the year before. The bat incident became one of the most infamous moments in rock history and is still associated with the Prince of Darkness persona. Prince of Darkness.
As they gain members, they're always changing. And yes, he span out into a hugely successful solo career. And then, of course, we are talking about him being a pioneer. He was a pioneer in reality TV too. And that's what a whole generation also first met him through, was the Osbournes. The Osbournes reality TV show, him and his family, him walking around the house calling Sharon's name, it spawned several impressions around the world. So he was a pioneer in that too. He was one of the first sort of rock and roller celebrities to let the cameras in his home like that. And it really gave MTV, which was a flagging network at the time, a massive lift and put him into the minds of a whole new generation too, which then went on to discover his music and not seem.
Yeah, Vivian said he reached 76 after all the drugs and drinking. He's done well. Yeah, there's some people that don't make it to 50 with all the drugs and drinking, or even younger. And I guess, Parkinson's. There was another celebrity I saw the other day that was doing really bad. I was kind of surprised. I'm trying to remember. Was it Bruce Willis? Somebody. I was really surprised to see. I didn't know he was in that condition. Let me see. That's just scary, man. Age catches up to you. Yeah, Bruce Willis. Supposedly, reportedly, he can no longer speak, read, and has difficulty walking. I did not know that Bruce Willis was having these health ailments. There's even a video here. They're saying that at 70 years old, Bruce Willis doesn't remember he was once a famous actor. Let's remove that part. Luckily, he looks like he has family that loves him and... Damn, man, that's crazy.
Tell me a bit about his stage persona, because for many people, this is how they're going to remember Ozzy Osbourne. You know, the Prince of Darkness, the bat is obviously, you know, the famous story, isn't it? The infamous bat.
Yeah, and that frames the whole persona, because it was pantomime, and it was both pantomime and it was serious, because the music wasn't comedy music, it wasn't novelty music, it was very serious music. But building that whole show, that whole aesthetic around that music was incredibly theatrical too. And just, you mentioned that he popped out of the stage on a leather throne the other week at the concert, with, I think it had a bejeweled bat sitting on one of the arms too. So he always knew how to make a show. It's a lesson that he'd learned from all his favorite bands in the 1960s, is to get on there, make a show, make them remember you, even if the reviews are terrible. If the reviews are terrible, take something good from that and run with that. So it's all about the theatre with heavy metal. And as I said, all these bands, all these massive 80s bands would not exist with their kind of showmanship without the trail that he blazed with that.
And some of them, of course, involved in this big farewell tour that happened, you know, just a matter of weeks ago, right, at Villa Park. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Metallica, I'm reading the list now. Metallica, Slayer, Guns N' Roses, Tool, Anthrax, Pantera, Alice in Chains. Just this who's who of that world. And it obviously showed what a debt they owed to him, how much they looked up to him, to come to that one show and say thank you. And as you were saying earlier, the way that this has happened, you know, you often hear about people retiring and then, you know, just letting go afterwards. It feels almost like when David Bowie left us and went back to his home planet, that it felt almost orchestrated. And it felt like he knew that it was coming. So this was the big farewell and thank you to his fans, to his music, and to his city. And it was Birmingham that made him, Birmingham that remained in his affections for forever throughout his life.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite moving, actually, isn't it? You know, Sharon announced the Villa Park gig earlier this year. He said that Ozzy was determined to give fans the perfect farewell. And then on the stage, he said, you've no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's something quite poignant about the fact he was there, at Villa Park, in a city that meant so much to him. As you say, orchestrated, we don't know, do we? But it feels very fitting, doesn't it?
It does, and it's a city that meant a lot to him, and he meant a lot to the city, and you could see that outpouring of love in the room that night, and they just held him in such high esteem, and it helped put Birmingham on the map. It's pretty much, sorry to Birmingham, it's pretty much him and Duran Duran. That are the two big bands, very opposite on the scale, but the way that he encapsulated that, because Birmingham has given birth to this dark music that Birmingham has given birth to, because it's a factory town, and that's the background that he came from too, like working class, dark grit factory, and he always reflected that in his music, and it never really left him. So to do that farewell there, and we knew it was a farewell of sorts at the time, but we were talking about the theatricality earlier as well. Maybe this is his last bit of theatricality, that big farewell.
Yeah, it feels absolutely right, doesn't it? And as you say there, just to pick up and emphasise what you're saying there, the fact that Birmingham meant so much to him. He may be associated for so many of us with that kind of glitzy Hollywood life, with a reality TV programme, with a big house, but he came from working class roots with his factory work.
They're already kind of linking it to conspiracy theory. Did he ever tweet this out for real? I don't think this is real. Was it? Let's see. Hold on. Wow. Apparently, did he make that? Was that this year? Was he they're trying to say Hillary did it? Oh, come on, man. It's too soon for this shit. They're saying it's a conspiracy? Hold on. What are they saying now? They said he tweeted, "I have information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton." What year was this? Was that? Couldn't be today. Let's see. Yes, this is legit. Ozzy Osbourne passed away this morning at 76, as confirmed by his family's statement. He was surrounded by love. I don't know. Wait, are they talking about the Clinton thing? No, Ozzy never posted about that. Oh, I'm about to say, okay. They're already starting with the conspiracy stuff. Lord almighty. Ozzy Osbourne, man, the Prince of Darkness, legendary. Who has not heard about this guy? Though he's dubbed the Prince of Darkness, and he had a final show.
That way.
That goes to show, man. To 76, with struggle with drugs and alcohol, Parkinson's, multiple surgeries. Man, we should be able to make it to 70, 80, 90, 100. Wow.
Anyway, so that it goes down there, goes to South America, it obviously goes to North America. So the love will come from everywhere, and the gratitude will come from everywhere. And I don't think that there'll be any doubt of what he meant to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really important to say that. I actually, I don't know if you were a heavy metal fan yourself, but I certainly went through, a period as a teenager where I absolutely loved it. And I was really, I didn't ever see Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne, I should say, but certainly some of the bands that you're mentioning there as being so influenced by it. And as you say, it is actually like a very supportive community too.
And drawing the logo on your school books and stuff like that is what you
exactly.
have
All the badges and
those paint pens on a canvas bag and all that sort of stuff.
You're taking me back now, you really are.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And that never left him either, by the way. As you said, he moved to LA, had this Bel Air mansion, had a lot of money, obviously, but he never dropped that accent, and he could have done. He lived away from Birmingham for long enough for that accent to disappear.
The godfather of
He
metal.
never let go of his roots, and he never stopped dressing in black with purple sunglasses, and he never stopped doing the Sign of the Beast when he could, and all that sort of stuff. So he was faithful to that way of life to the end.
Yeah, he certainly was, wasn't he? And such a showman, as you say, too. Just talk me through, some of the kind of musical innovations.
Some of the crazy, interesting history. I didn't know this stuff. We talked about the many years of, drugs and alcohol, which kind of seems to come hand in hand sometimes with the rock lifestyle. And we talked about the bat situation. In his later life, he was a reformed wild man who suffered a string of health issues. We talked about the neck injuries in 2003, quad biking accident, which later exacerbated by a fall in 2019. I'm telling you, those falls, when you get older, woof, they start hitting. Those falls will take you out. Or you break something or something. I busted my ass a couple months ago, and I'm like, yo, I gotta chill, because I busted it, like, one, I fell down the stairs. I was like, man, I'm getting clumsy. And the other one, I was running to catch one of my daughter's parade things, and I've slipped, and I scratched. I scraped the hell out of myself. I'm like, I gotta be a little more cautious. We talked about that, and then he had a bout of COVID. Born in Birmingham, England, that's why they keep saying Birmingham, to work to a factory worker mother and toolmaker father, Osbourne was raised with his 5 siblings in a small 2-bedroom house in Aston. He suffered intense bullying, and he claimed he was repeatedly, and drummer Bill Ward renaming themselves Black Sabbath after being booked by accident by a venue who wanted a different band with the same moniker. Success came relatively swiftly, despite the self-titled debut receiving negative reviews from his critics. It charted the top 10 in the UK upon its release in 1970, and is now considered to be one of the most influential metal albums of all time.
Yeah, in and out of the limelight, definitely, because he had his problems, as I've mentioned before. But he did invent that genre, and he has remained faithful to that sound ever since. He's not sort of done a swing album or anything like that. It's no. Metalists just choose a way of life and they stick with it. And he is their leader. He is the Dark Prince, So he just really lived it, and it coursed through him, and he didn't give up on that. And you could see that in the whole aesthetic of the gig the other week. As I said, the leather throne, the way he really put his all into the performance, because there were doubts before the concert that he would make it through the entire set, that he'd have to go off stage a few times, come back on. But he really wanted to give it his all, because that's what he did for his entire career, despite the drug problems and everything that beset him in the 80s and 90s. He still pushed through, and he still kept that faith and that aesthetic.
Thank you so much. It's been great to have you here, and it's been really interesting for me getting some of your memories and insights into the career of this astonishing man. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
Wow. If you're just joining us now, the announcement coming through that...
It's so weird too, like when the older you get, like the celebrities, people that you see passing away that you like grew up hearing about or listening to, and you see them getting to their old age. Like the reality of our mortality, crazy. But he went out with a bang, I guess. He went out.
A farewell tour,
and with family
in so many
surrounding
ways. Birmingham meaning so much to him. It was where he was born back in 1948 in Aston in Birmingham. He left school at 15 and then did odd jobs, including factory work, before forming some bands with a school friend, Geezer Butler. What a name that is as well. And then, of course, really things spiralled from there. He didn't just pioneer heavy metal, he effectively invented it. And then paved the way.
I didn't know about this. Okay, so Ozzy and Sharon, who began dating after he was fired, and she took over from her father as his manager, were married the same year his divorce was finalized. Their relationship... Maybe I should have read this other part. Sorry, my bad. I should have read this other part. It was around this time that Osbourne met his future wife, Sharon Arden, while Black Sabbath were considering her father, Don, as a prospective manager. Then he was married to his first wife, Thelma Riley, with whom he had 2 children, Louise and Jessica. Osbourne and Riley divorced in 1982. He later admitted that his first marriage was a terrible mistake. He also revealed in 2011 that he couldn't remember when Louise and Jessica were born due to his frequent drug and alcohol use. Ozzy and Sharon, who began dating after he was fired and she took over from her father as his manager, were married the same year. Damn. Began dating after he was fired and she took over from her father as his manager. So So they were married the same year his divorce is finalized. Their relationship endured a number of hurdles, including the time Osbourne attempted to kill her by strangulation during a drugs-influenced episode in 1989. Wow. Wow. I felt the calmest I had ever felt in my life, Osbourne said the moment he began strangling his wife in an interview for the documentary, The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne. It was just peaceful. It's not exactly one of my greatest achievements. What the? Sharon also described her husband's demeanor as calm during the attack in their family home in Amsterdam, while saying it was probably the most frightened I had ever been. She managed to press a panic button and police were called. Osbourne said he woke up in the police custody and he was informed by an officer that he had been arrested for attempted murder. He was subsequently sent to rehab for 6 months while Sharon decided whether to walk away from their marriage in the 35 years since the couple had also survived the cheating scandal in 2016, with Sharon later claiming Osbourne had an extramarital affair with 6 different women. Their chaotic personal lives were famously documented in the MTV's reality show The Osbournes, which ran for 4 seasons from 2002 to 2005. In 2009 interview, Osbourne said he was stoned during the duration of the filming. Two of his and Sharon's children, Kelly and Jack, also featured in the series, while their eldest, Amy, who declined to appear. Okay. Interesting. Man, they survived the test of time. All the ups and downs and roller coasters and crazy-ish. Wow. For fans, Osbourne's public antics were part of the band's charm, while others, including a number of religious groups, there were a sign of Black Sabbath's negative influence on impressionable young minds. He will forever be remembered as the rocker who bit off the head of a bat. It was already dead, contrary to the rock and roll lore. In front of 5,000 audience members at the gig of Iowa, after a 17-year-old fan, Mark Neal, threw it on stage, Osbourne was rushed to the hospital after the concert to receive a rabies shot. That was crazy. But they said that he thought it was a fake. He thought it was like a rubber bat. He didn't know that the fan actually threw a real bat, and that's a huge infamous moment in time.
Together after counselling and in 2017 renewing their wedding vows in Las Vegas, and as you were saying, really the whole family becoming famous when they appeared, let the cameras into their home in 2002 to 2005 for that MTV show, The Osbournes, which really launched the careers of 2 of their children, Jack and Kelly. So there will be many people today mourning the loss of Ozzy Osbourne, a man who had been ill since 2020. It was then that it was announced that he had, in January 2020, that he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which had been discovered after he had a fall. He revealed that on US television. And at the time, his wife said, well, it's not a death sentence by any stretch of the imagination. That was 5 and a bit years ago now. Having had a real decline in his health, today, very sadly, dying, surrounded by his family, surrounded by love.
Emma, thank you very much for now. As Emma was saying, the heavy metal star, the man who effectively invented the whole genre, Ozzy Osbourne, has died today, surrounded by love, according to his family, at the age of 76. He was a pioneer. He influenced so many other artists who wouldn't have existed, I think it's fair to say, without Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, of course, as well. One of them, Metallica, who performed alongside him at that gig in Villa Park earlier in July, a band that, of course, was so influential as well. And this is what they've put out on X today. Very, very poignant, I have to say. They haven't put any words with it. They've just put that image there of a broken heart above a picture
Metallica.
of themselves when they were younger, probably at the beginning, if you like, of their music adventures, meeting Ozzy Osbourne. And I think it is just very, very clear from that picture what an influence Ozzy Osbourne had on so many other musical artists, and of course the whole community of people who love heavy metal. And for them, he will always be the Prince of Darkness as well. Metallica, of course, performed supporting Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath on stage at Villa Park earlier in July. It was seen as his farewell tour, and in many ways it's incredibly poignant, I think, that he did manage to get that chance to say goodbye to those fans who had been so loyal to him throughout his whole career, and that always had that relationship with him, the most dynamic of frontmen as well. At the time, he said to the crowd, "You've no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." That's what he told the crowd as he performed from a throne, very typically Ozzy Osbourne, a throne on the stage at Villa Park. And I think we can bring you a little bit of that performance.
July 5th, yeah. Wow.
I think you can see there what it means to him. That was on the 5th of July. So that was just 2.5 weeks or so ago that Ozzy Osbourne wanted to give his fans the greatest farewell tour, if you like, that they could have ever wished for, from Black Sabbath, reuniting with some of his bandmates and also having performances and being supported by some of his own favourite acts, some acts who were so influenced by him, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, these kind of icons of the heavy metal genre that Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath really invented. The reason that the name heavy metal exists is from an early review of one of their concerts, where the journalist said that the sound sounded just like, heavy metal banging together, and they read that review, which I'm sure wasn't meant to be a compliment, and decided that they were going to run with it. And I think that perhaps shows that rebellious attitude, taking on the establishment, doing their own thing, that defined Black Sabbath, and then also came to define the whole of the heavy metal genre with Metallica and Guns N' Roses really embodying and exemplifying it as well. He's known, of course, for his music, both in Black Sabbath and, of course, as well as a solo artist. He was an extremely successful solo artist in his own right as well. But he was also known to a whole new generation. Probably, I think it's fair to say, quite a different group of people, if you like, the reality TV show watchers of the noughties who were pretty hooked on that pioneering, I think it's fair to say, reality TV show, The Osbournes, where he starred alongside his wife, Sharon, and 2 of their children as well, catapulting them all to a whole nother level of fame as well, documenting their life in warts and all, a very, very honest, reality TV show, I think it is fair to say, that really brought a new generation of fans as well to him. But extraordinary that the images that you're looking at and the music that we saw before, of course, just from that Villa Park gig that was given to him, that he wanted to give that send-off to his fans as well. Music legend Ozzy Osbourne dying at age 76, surrounded by love. We have had a bit of reaction, and Metallica, just one of the bands, of course, who was so influenced by him, just tweeting a picture of them and an emoji of a broken heart. And now we have also heard from Ronnie Wood, who is again someone who really needs no introduction, rock musician, best known, of course, as a member of the Rolling Stones since 1975, also a member of the Faces. Well, he has come out to say...
So I didn't realize this too. I just noticed when they were showing the picture, that bat, which is kind of interesting. So remember I talked about the bat incident. It's a very iconic or infamous moment. I remember it. It's on the internet too. On his performance, he had actually put like a bat on his throne, and apparently they said it was because of that. He used it for his final Black Sabbath performance in Birmingham, which was a symbol of his iconic bat-biting incident, which occurred in 1982. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy, crazy. And kind of funny. I don't know. So, yeah, he embraced the crazy moment from back then. I don't know if it's a meme, but the iconic moment, I guess. And he used it as part of the throne.
Schoolmate, and then, you know, he was just catapulted to the stratospheric level of fame in the UK, but also in the United States as well. And of course, then having that, if you like, Hollywood lifestyle, he was part of that reality TV show with that glamorous looking house, if you like, glamorous looking wife, and then got his Hollywood star too. He was on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So really a man who had those strong roots in Birmingham, those strong working class roots, redefined music, one of the most influential musicians with all of those songs that we all remember, Paranoid and all the others that will be played, I'm sure, so much over the coming days as people remember his music as well. And of course, his stage presence as well is worth mentioning too, because he was a musician, but he was also a performer. And when we saw those images just a moment ago of that farewell tour at Villa Park, where he was off in the black throne with a bat on the background, he always dressed in black. He had that eyeliner that we always remember, those round glasses, the style that we associate with him so much. And also the fact he was always pushing the boundaries over what was acceptable, or things that weren't acceptable at all, I guess, like, you know, biting a bat on stage. But that exemplifies rock and roll music. It exemplifies heavy metal, that rebellious sound, anthemic sound that spoke to so many people. I definitely remember, you know, the kind of music of my youth was very much influenced by this man, Ozzy Osbourne, and the way that he pushed the boundaries of music as well. He was a family man too, although I think he would admit that he had a turbulent life with so many people, in and out of some of those musical relationships he had, and I'm sure his family life wasn't always plain sailing. I mean, we saw some of it, of course, in that reality TV show, but it is worth, you know, paying tribute to that marriage as well, with his wife Sharon, the music manager Sharon Osbourne, the force of nature, the woman who was by his side throughout that reality TV programme and understood him so well, of course. His family putting out the statement to say that he died surrounded by love, and that was a statement put forward by his wife Sharon and their children as well. Let's talk now, shall we, to Emma Birchley. Emma, we've had a lot of reaction happen with me to the very sad news that the music legend Ozzy Osbourne has died, aged 76.
Yes, those tributes are beginning to emerge on social media. Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones, I'm so very sad to hear of the death of Ozzy Osbourne. What a lovely goodbye he had at Back to the Beginning in Birmingham. Of course, that at Villa Park just 2.5 weeks ago, where he emerged on a black throne, bejewelled with skulls, rising up through the stage for a concert attended by some of the hugest stars in the world: Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Youngblood, many of whom had cited him as a huge influence. He'd had to cancel concerts due to his health in 2023. And so this really seen as a final bow, called Back to the Beginning to 40,000 people. And he was in tears as he emerged at Villa Park. He said to the crowd, "You've no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." But other tributes coming in from Metallica, who were among those, of course, who performed at that concert. They had a photo together. And then, other than that, simply a broken heart emoji. But actually, it's not just people from the rock world. Or there's that photo there. So that was that on their tweet, and that broken heart emoji. But there are others too. Public Enemy, this is, rap, Flavor Flav. He's even put a tribute saying, real heartbroken over the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. We go way back, and it was a real honour to watch him get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. And I think that this is just the start of the tributes. There will be so many from across the world. This is a man who sold 100 million records during his time with Black Sabbath, and also as a solo artist. Of course, it was a turbulent time with the band. He was initially sacked back in 1979 after his very public battles with drink and drugs. Then he was back with the band, then he left again. And it was as a solo artist that Sharon would manage him, and actually she remained a driving force in his career, and she is the one who came up with the idea for that concert just a couple of weeks ago. So,
nice.
Ozzy Osbourne at 76 years old, dying surrounded by love, according to his family.
Emma, thank you so much. We've got that statement, of course, from his family, Ozzy Osbourne dying, surrounded by love, a family man, of course, who, to many people, will have been known for his reality TV show, that show of the noughties, but then, of course, to that community of heavy metal fans, and actually music fans more generally, of course, I think it is fair to say as well, he was a music icon and someone who really did transform music, effectively inventing the heavy metal genre as well. Someone who came up from Birmingham, from a working class background, and hit the heights of Hollywood. We'll have more coming up with Sarah J. Mee.
Okay. Well, rest in peace and condolences to the family and friends. Wow. Wow. Breaking news, man. Sad. It's great that he was able to do that show though before passing, that farewell show. Wow. All right, guys, I'll be around if anything pops off today. There might be some stuff popping off. I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep an eye out. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Appreciate you stopping by. I'll catch you later. All right.